Hi guys, it's Ray with Ray's Turquoise Turtle. I have a set of domino molds. This is the double 6 dominoes, and I have a cup with 120 milliliters here and a cup with 120 here. And I am going to mix in chocolate colored mica powder in one. Give that a good bit. And in the other, I am going to use this glitter that I got from Glitter Bees that I should have already opened before I mixed my resin. This one's called Duelin. So I'm going to mix a good amount of that in this side. And I'm going to mix them up. And hopefully that's enough of the glitter to, this color is beautiful. I don't know if you can see that. This resin is pretty warm, so I'm moving quickly. I mixed up a huge batch, but hopefully I'll be able to get to all of the projects before it sets up. Because I do hate wasting resin. So that's beautiful, and I think that will go great with this glitter color. So it's kind of a ruddy brown. All right, so I'm going to bring my mold back out. I'm trying to avoid this spot because there's a little bunch there. I'm going to set the stick aside, and I am just going to, I think I want to pour the glitter first, actually. Change of plans. So I'm going to pour the glitter down one side, and it will flow into the other side, and that is perfectly fine. And I'm just going over those humps. If any dries on there, it'll pick off pretty easily. So I'm not going to worry about that. Set that cup aside. Now I'm going to chase back in with the mica from the other end. And I do have a little bit more resin if I need to mix up some more of the mica one. Because at this point, I do not want to put any more glitter across the top. So I do have a little bit of glitter left over. I'll probably run a little short on the mica side. Just a tiny bit short, so I'm going to grab a tiny bit more resin. And my stir stick from over here on the table. I'm going to see if there's enough colorant in here. Not quite, so I'm going to go ahead and add a tiny bit more. I should have gloves on both hands, and I don't. that time because it's such a small amount. Okay, so I'm just going to finish filling up the couple I didn't fill at all yet. And I'm going to go back through and top off any that are not quite full. Because I don't want them to have sharp edges or anything like that. So the amount I had left over in the glitter cup is about equal to what I remixed in this cup. So my 240 is pretty close to spot on for these. Somewhere between 220 and 240. So that's that. Put this cup away. I am going to spritz these with alcohol on the back side. Just one of these little misters. And these I will probably have to do a couple of times because the glitter tends to trap air bubbles. So I'll keep an eye on them a little bit and do that again if needed. Just kind of tapping it to see if there's any big bubbles in the corners or anything that'll work up. So that's it. I will come back when they're ready to unmold and I will show you how I color the dots. Okay, I am back to undo these dominoes. This mold came out about perfect. I have one little spot where I overlapped a little and they're all pretty consistent. This one, I got a little heavy-handed on a couple of them. These three in particular, so I may have to re-pour a couple of those. But that's fine. So I'm just going to start popping them out. And I do have some corners that are a little bubbled or dinged, but they're not terrible. These are the only two in this set that were a little overlapped, so I can sand that off real quick. It'll be fine. These are beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and undo this side. These are okay. These are okay. This one's good. It's just these three have a little extra doming to the back that is a bit much. So I may be able to sand them down a little bit, or I can probably just as quick and easy to re-pour those three. And I can obviously see which ones I need to do. So once you have them all unmolded, obviously the 0 doesn't have any dots, but I like to use these Sharpie oil-based markers. I had originally just bought big ones, but I found that the big one doesn't fit in the line, so I had to go back and get the fine point ones for that. So these are like any paint Parker. You shake them up and get them moving. You may have to pounce them down once in a while to get them flowing again, but generally once they start, you're pretty good. And I just rub it in the hole. If I get any excess on, like if I do too much, like I tend to push down too hard sometimes, that'll clean up pretty easily in a minute. But but it just totally transforms the look when you start filling in the dots. You can sit there and color the dots on the mold prior to pouring with certain mediums, but to me this is just easier. It doesn't take near as long as you think it's going to take when you get started. I have a set of the markers in gold, silver, and white, both sizes, so depending on the color, use what's going to look best on that. Like the purple, I did silver. But you just fill them in. The white marker seems to flow a lot faster, I've noticed, than the silver one. Like, I think with the silver, I got in a rhythm of going around each dot like 5 times. The white is like 3. And maybe I'm just weird, but I tend to count when I'm doing a project like this. Like, I just get this constant count in my head. So I would do them all like that, and then I would come back in with my fine point and just a couple times back and forth across each to give it the full effect. And then before these would be playable, I would let them sit and cure fully for at least 72 hours, but depending on what I filled them with, these are just glitter and mica, so they'll set up a little harder than if I'd used possibly inks or any other kind of dyes. So that's it for this set of dominoes. I'll sit here and finish filling them all in, and I'll have a set ready to go, unless I do decide to redo any of these. I mean, they're really not that much bigger. I think if I just sand the edges, at least of a couple of them, they'll be fine. You do have to be careful when you do dominoes. I see this a lot, where people will use a translucent background, or they'll just barely mix any glitter in, and you can actually end up seeing the dots through the back, which kind of defeats the purpose of a set of dominoes to begin with. So do be aware of that when you go to pour them. Don't use just straight ink that's translucent. Use something that's going to be opaque and block. And do make sure your backs all kind of have a similar look to them. Like on these, the glitter mostly pushed to the bottom and the mica stayed on the top, but you have little hints of glitter on all of them. You don't want to get a set that people can start saying, oh, I know that one's the 6 and 6. Sometimes people that have never played dominoes or haven't ever actually looked at the rules get a little confused on how dominoes are worked, and you can easily get to the point where people are going to be able to tell what numbers are what and what to avoid when they're picking. So just things to be aware of. But I think this set came out pretty cool. I like my color combination, and I do have a couple of little corners with bubbles, but honestly, it's not going to affect the performance of the game, and they're not that bad, because this particular set has a slightly rounded edge anyways. So that's it. I will put links to the molds, the glitter I used, the mica. I'll link up the Sharpies. And if you have any questions, let me know. And if you have any advice on how you're packaging these, if this is something you are making, I'd be curious to know what you're doing with them. They do sell a mold to make a box, but it's like a 6-part mold and it just seems like a lot to me. So I don't particularly want to get into that. But thanks for watching. Please give me a like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it.